Before we jump in, a quick heads up. The opinions and stories shared by my guest are theirs, not necessarily mine. I'm a beauty enthusiast who loves bringing you new voices and ideas, but all thoughts, advice, and information you hear on the Beauty Biz Show podcast belong solely to the guest. And remember, nothing on this show is meant to replace professional or legal guidance. Now, let's dive into the good stuff. Welcome to the Beauty Biz Show. I'm your host, Lori Crete, a career-loving esthetician and beauty entrepreneur on a mission to empower fellow estheticians. If you are a solo or small business owning esthetician and you enjoy this podcast and curious about how we can work together, visit beautybizclub.com for mentorship and essential business growth tools. If you're looking to boost your retail sales and elevate client care, check out my line of luxury spa wraps and headbands at spastar.net. Now, join me as I bring you inspirational messages from beauty industry experts and practical tips to help you achieve beauty biz success. Get ready for some serious beauty biz entertainment.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Beauty Biz Show. This is Lauren Natuno, and I'm super excited to be hosting another solo cast on the show. For those listeners who might be tuning into the Beauty Biz Show for the first time and don't know who I am, my name is Lauren Natuno. I'm a small business owner and a career-loving esthetician. I'm a success strategist and a coach inside of the Beauty Biz Club, specifically for emerging estheticians, and I'm very happy to be hosting today's show. In a world full of what can be considered toxic beauty standards and product lines with a million different ingredients that might make you stop and wonder, I really wanted to focus on the fact that there are still pockets of peace. And my guest today has certainly made her mark in the holistic health, wellness, and beauty space. I am super excited to introduce you all to my friend, the CEO and founder of Glow Luxury Oils, Megan Ulrichs. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Lauren. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited for this conversation.
I'm so excited too. For the listeners, I have known Megan for a long time, and her sons and we grew up together. But living in a small town, Megan has really become this huge force. You're everywhere, it seems.
Oh,
Health, wellness, beauty space in not only Bozeman, but everywhere. So I'm super excited to dive into today's episode with you and talk about some really important topics.
yes. Thank you for that warm intro. I'll give you a little background. So, Glow Luxury Oils is my business. My background is an herbalist and holistic nutritionist. And that information led me during my program and certification process to Glow Luxury Oils accidentally. I had no intention, but in the process, so this was about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I was 44, and there was a real gaping hole in the beauty industry for organic skincare that didn't smell like patchouli. And no offense to patchouli, but I was just not into it. And there was also a stigmatism against organic skincare. It was just like for hippies, or it didn't really work. And so it kind of set a light bulb off for me. And I just went on a side tangent and researched my brain out on how I could make a product for myself. And I was consulting at a naturopathic health clinic, and all of my patients, after a while, were like, "Okay, will you tell me I need to eat this way and use natural skincare or topical products? Like, what do I get? What do I do?" And I would say, "Oh, just go to the co-op and get some almond oil," or and they're like, "Well, what are you using?" And so I would reluctantly tell them. And then, of course, the question started unfolding. Well, can I try whatever you're making? And so that became this accidental company. It was like a fourth child for me. And I started making just two products for myself, which are the two staples, regenerative oil and regenerative hydrosol. Um, and then my clients were asking for it, and then my family and friends were asking for it. And finally, after repeat asks, I was like, okay, this might be something. And then I had people say, like, you actually need to brand this. This is
Mhm.
kind of selfish of you to not. So I'm like, okay, just leaning into the yeses, um, and having fun with it, and just continued going with it. And now 22 products later, we're
Wow.
in, I think I have 22 stockists, and several of you are estheticians working at spas or for yourselves, which is beautiful. Um, and yeah, it's been 10 years of actively being in this business, 10 years in 26. So it's going to be a
That's
big celebratory
huge.
year. Yeah,
It it seems like it's flying by.
it has flown by. It's been super smooth. It's been super fun. Everything seems to be organically growing and evolving within the business and within my own growth, which is, it's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, so okay, that really leads me into one of the things that I've always loved about Glow, and that is that you've traveled all over the world
Mhm.
sourcing,
Yeah.
ingredients for your business. And I don't know if you were doing that prior to Glow, um, but and knowing you and being able to have experienced what you've built at your own home, you also grow a lot of your own ingredients for your skincare line.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about those practices and how you decided that you wanted to make sourcing these ingredients, growing these ingredients, one of your top priorities as the
Yeah.
business owner?
Such a great question. And it's something I tend to take for granted and forget to emphasize. But if you think about it, so I started from the inside out with holistic nutrition and herbalism. And that's what my main focus was. Um, I was and still am so much about promoting eating as locally as possible, eating as seasonally as possible, know your farmer. It's important to know the ingredients that you're putting in your body and on your body. And so when I started Glow, there was this little voice that kept saying to me, I don't want to just be a beauty business. That's so superficial to me at that time. And so I realized, like, well, the importance of this product line that I'm creating is that I am not only formulating a product that's good for the skin, but it's also good for the environment and for those that grow. And so it was really important for me to know every single ingredient that I put in each formula. And so either I was going to grow, which we live in Montana, not the easiest, or I was going to know. And so that led me to traveling. And right out of the gate, I thought, oh, this will be fun. Eventually, I'll get to travel to source all my ingredients. And then I woke up 4 years later and I was like planning a trip to Morocco. And
Yeah.
getting to know these growers from across the world before, I would just research
Mm.
Morocco rose oil, neroli oil growers. And so I would connect with them. And then years later, I would travel, and it was like this big family greeting, all the way across the world. And so I've been able to do that for the last 5 years. We did some US trips, Washington, Spokane, Oregon, California, and then Canada. and it's extended to Nicaragua, Morocco, Peru, and now I'll be going to Italy in 27.
That is so just really important. And a lot of, I feel like people who might see a product on the shelf doesn't always assume that the maker is doing these kinds of things. And I feel like for those of you who haven't experienced glow, when you use a glow product, you really can feel, the love that goes into the product. Do you feel like since traveling and seeing all of these different people involved with making the oils, making the ingredients, making these kinds of connections with people all over the world, did this influence you or help you kind of tailor certain products to address different skin types or concerns, or different women with diverse beauty needs? I know you said that you started with just a couple products and now you have so many. So when did you start thinking of, aging skin, acne, rosacea? When did you start thinking of expanding to meet all of these people's needs?
Well, a lot of that was just the needs, being expressed through clients, and then my own teenage boys, they were dealing with acne. And so that was where the acne line was born. So I would say the new product lines that have come about have been due to client requests. And it was fun for me because give me a challenge, and I'm a research nerd. So I would pour into research of what helps rosacea, and I already knew what helped rosacea from the inside. So I could give them advice through skin consults, but then to go to the next level to meet their needs topically, because it is both. It's a two-way street. You can't just fix a skin issue topically ever. There's always a root to that skin issue. So the travels where those influenced me is my husband and I would just make a trip. I'm like, let's go. I know I can get lavender here, or we're going to go to Croatia. Let's get some helichrysum and lavender. And so what will happen is I would go on a trip, and then I would come back with a small batch. So that creates the creative influx in me that it's always percolating right here. And then eventually it comes out. So every couple of months, there's a new small batch that arises from these direct source ingredients. And then the ingredients from my farms that I connect with or from the Glow Garden, they're always a staple in each product. But there will always be a small batch because there's also, most of my small batches, what will happen is I'll launch it. For example, the Body Love Oil. It came from an ingredient in Washington, which was rose geranium. And I made it because why not? Like, let's give the body some love. And that was the first body oil. And then that sold, and everyone came back 2 months, 3 months later, once they were done. They're like, hey, so any more of that Body Love Oil? And then I would get enough demand where I'd say, okay, I'll make that a permanent product. So partly the expansion of the products are client needs, just like, hey, I need something for rosacea, what works? Or my son or daughter has acne, eczema, what works? And then the small batches are created, and then they want more. So it's that.
And it's something that watching you do those small batches and seeing that they sell out in the matter of minutes, hours, like small batches fly off your website. It's also really interesting, like business takeaway for me, right? You're always bringing something new, fresh. You're always creating something that builds anticipation with your customer. And it's like they're just waiting around for what's next because you're just such an innovative entrepreneur when it comes to glow. I feel like I take away a lot of lessons, business lessons, watching you
Thank
um,
you.
do that.
Yeah.
And so fun.
Well, it's fun for me as a creator. Like I said, they're percolating.
Mm,
And so I have to be creating. And skincare happens to be such a passion for me. Ingredients in particular light me up. Um, and so then there's the whole beauty industry, like what's the new, right?
yeah.
Everybody, especially with beauty, we're constantly seeking what's the next thing, which is a little bit sad to me because since I've started Glow, like I don't even go into skincare aisles.
Yeah.
I'm so happy with what I have. Hair, different story. So it helps me relate to people who are constantly seeking the next best formula. And it also helps me to stay on um, the beauty standard trends
Mm,
because oftentimes, what we have is an ingredient that's highlighted for the year. And it always intrigues me if it's usually a botanical ingredient that's the trend that some beauty or skincare companies are using, but it'll be like one drop in their entire batch. And then they can say, oh, we use bakuchiol
mhm,
or buriti oil. Whereas for me, the integrity is of utmost importance. And so I'll take that ingredient that I get so excited about and I will dig, dig, dig. And then I will dig just to learn because it's fascinating. And then I will dig on, okay, well, then where can I get the best, closest source of that ingredient? And then I get to make friends with these growers who are just as passionate about being stewards of the land and the high integrity ingredient. So for me, it's fun to create these new products every couple of months. It's hard for me not to do it every month because it's a lot. It's so much.
yeah.
But I will just write down, like they'll just come to me and I'll just write it down, set it aside, and so I can choose when my creative spirit starts to bubble up. I can
Mhm.
choose, okay, what is the need? What's the hole? Uh, and then what's the ingredient to focus on? And do I want to go get it or do I want to grow it? So
Right.
so
Gosh,
it's fun and people love it.
this reminds me for the audience, this is just such a fun story. It reminds me of before I had purchased my new device and I was kind of dabbling in microcurrent for everybody listening.
Mhm.
Megan was in my studio and I was kind of practicing on her. It was new to me. I hadn't really done it on anybody. So Megan was nice enough to be my little guinea pig.
Mhm.
And it's just so fun. Like I remember we were discussing the conductivity gel and where I got it. And for everyone listening, this was so fun. Megan was like, well, I want to see if I can make you one. And she went back to her glow lab, made me a product that was conductive to current, showed
Yeah.
back up in my studio. And I need like a penny's worth of it. And I used it for a long, long time. But that just shows that what you do is so heart-centered and that it truly is like fun for you. And it just is it just is really such a good model for other women who are navigating, what do they want to do in this industry? How can I stand out? Well, you can stand out, but it has to be so
Yeah.
heart-centered.
It's the only way you can stand out.
Yeah.
It's truly like, what do I want to offer? How do I want to use my expertise? Your your puppy.
I'm just sneaking in here.
How do I want to use my expertise to raise the collective of my clientele, right? So how can I raise the spirits and also work in healing the skin so that they walk out of my space or they walk out of using my products feeling 1 inch higher than they did coming into it or better or at ease to me and to the work that you do. and estheticians do, like, it is such a beautiful, important work for us to elevate every person that either lays on your table or opens up your product and applies it to her or his skin.
Yeah, I feel like there is such a powerful, special thing that happens too when you can make that difference in somebody's
Mhm,
every day when it comes to
mhm,
products, or even just once a month when it comes to estheticians.
yeah,
Um, Being able to create just that feeling in your customer
mhm.
or in your
Yeah,
client. And that's what keeps people coming back and creates loyalty. Uh,
totally.
and that you mentioned beauty standards, and this is something I've always loved talking about with you.
Mhm,
But we live in this really crazy time when it comes to beauty standards. And you are somebody who, A, is just such an incredible example of, you know, beautiful natural beauty, and it's something that's important to you and something that you discuss publicly and emphasize.
mhm,
Can you share a little bit about your philosophy on aging and how it maybe influences your product's development?
mhm. So I'm a little bit swimming upstream in this industry with my message. For me, the message is to everyone, aging is a privilege, and you're not going to get around it. We're just going to age. And I get we want to age gracefully. We want to age, softly. I feel like let's age boldly
Mm,
and let's, tap into it. Let's start with the inside out. Let's step into our power. As we age, we experience more life. And yes, with that life comes lifelines, right? We're worried, we're curious, we're smiling. And those are the stories that we tell through our skin. And I get it. Like, I don't want to tell my story through frown lines. Um,
yeah.
but it's part of life. I worried over my kids. Scolded my computer screens and probably my kids.
Yeah.
um, but to me, that's a privilege. And I do feel like as we step into our authenticity, um, we radiate from within, and that part of aging to me is the most beautiful. If we try to freeze it all, I get it. Like, our world has become so frozen at this point,
Yeah.
and I am definitely an anomaly. And even in our natural mountain town,
Mm.
I can see, when people are doing the work. And there's often times where I'm like, maybe I should consider. But I do also feel like our kids and our grandkids down the road, they need to see our expressions.
It's
And
important.
it's important. And so for me, my philosophy is about let's nurture the skin we're in, um, really foster the inner growth that we can as we age, as we live life, and step into that authenticity and then step into that confidence. And that's where we radiate. And so with the topical and the internal care, it's about like, how can we nurture and how can we soften um, in a way that still allows us to be who we are.
Yeah.
Um, so that's if you're on my Instagram, I'll even go so far as to say you don't need another product.
Right.
You need to tap into what lights you up and keep it simple. And maybe I'm biting myself in the butt by talking that way, but I do believe like it's the simplicity and it's the self-care, it's the slowing down, it's the, following your heart and leading with your heart that actually softens your aging. And that is really important to me.
Yeah. And I think that, oh gosh, this topic, and I do think that for anybody listening, there is so many women who I think feel the same exact way. We are in an interesting time where I think a lot of people are saying, like, when when is it going to be too much?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to, you know, aesthetic treatments or just beauty standards.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of women who aren't doing them, who
Yeah.
are like, am I like not part of this like club?
Yeah.
It creates insecurities that shouldn't
It
be there.
totally, yeah, it
And
does.
so I love that, Glow and, you and your branding, it does, I think, really contribute to women's empowerment and self-confidence, and just being true, to who we are. And this isn't to say that if you are doing all of the, the beauty things, that that's bad either. But
Right.
what I love about this conversation and about your branding and just is that your skincare is for everybody, whether or not you have, if you are doing Botox and fillers and lasers and all the things,
Mm-hmm.
uh, your regenerative oil still provides incredible results. But then you also have this really important message that
Mm-hmm.
just like lives in the Glow world
Yeah.
that says, for all of you who don't feel the need to do any of these enhancement treatments is what they're calling them. Um, there's still these pockets of um, peace, and Glow is one of those where, you feel just confident and beautiful, and using Glow, using the products make you feel that within.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. And I love that we touched on this because I feel a lot of people listening feel we're in an overwhelming time when it comes to beauty.
And that we are. And I think what's disconcerting for me is there is a nice movement
Yeah.
around pro-aging, if you will. I laugh at that because I'm like, we're all going to age. We're
Yeah.
aging every day. So, okay, pro-aging, whatever. But at least they're using the word beauty enhancement, right? Instead of
Mhm.
anti-aging. That's a nice
Yeah.
step.
And
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I think though what's concerning is there's there's information that's not being shared.
Mm,
And, they're promoting botulism to girls in their late teens to early 20s as preventative.
mhm,
There's no long-term studies being done. There was one woman who studied the negative effects of botulism, so Botox in the skin exposure. And it was a contributor to dementia, Alzheimer's, and neurological disease. That study, because the pharmaceutical industry makes a lot of money on this and all these enhancements, that study was stifled and taken out of PubMed, which is the utmost respected medical research study platform. It was taken off of that for many years. It's finally now recirculated back. So that was 10 years ago. And I remember reading it. And because I did Botox, like I think I was 42, right before I started Glow. Because yeah, it's preventative. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because of course, when I use it, I was like, it felt so contradictory to me even back
yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, I went on to PubMed, which is my go-to for research. And I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, no. Um, and so that was quickly removed. And I remember looking for it again to like, did I read it right? And this was like 2 years later because I was like,
Mhm.
I think I'm ready again. But the study is now coming out, and there are some beauty experts that are speaking out about that study. And so, my fear or concern is that young women are being preyed upon for this because they make so much money, and that there's going to be, do you remember when, I feel like now and it has been for the last 5 years, like with breast implants, there's implant
Yes.
injuries.
Yes.
I think that Botox and some fillers are going to be the new breast plant injury because it's these foreign toxins or subjects being put into our skin. And the body over time can reject it or reject it immediately. And we're not seeing enough of those repercussions.
Just a quick message, and then we will be diving right back into the episode. For all of my estheticians just getting started in this incredible industry or going solo for the very first time, building your unique brand, building your business should be the fun part. I've got a little secret for you. Gloss Genius. This is a company that truly believes that businesses deserve tools that elevate their unique brands and build direct connections with clients. Don't let your online scheduling software be the last thing you think about, because it is so much more than just that. Think of it as your best friend in the business. That is why I love Gloss Genius. Gloss Genius makes everything so easy. It is an all-in-one platform for scheduling, payments, marketing, and so much more. It's built to make your brand feel elevated and cohesive from the very beginning. From your booking site to your workflow, it takes away all the headaches so that you can just dive into your passion. When you're just starting out, you want everything to flow effortlessly, and Gloss Genius helps you do just that. So if you're just starting out and you are looking for a platform that helps you build a brand that you're proud of, bring in clients, and take all the busy work off your plate, Gloss Genius is waiting for you. Yeah,
So-
you know, it's interesting because I was just telling you, and the episode will probably come out before this one, but I did just interview a friend of mine, Dr. Emily Ridgway, who's a plastic surgeon. We were talking about trends going into 2026, and she on how implant removal is a big trend that she's seeing. And you know what's interesting is I think you're right. We are moving into this, and you see it in pop culture, in TikTok, Instagram, influencers. You're seeing a lot of more people like maybe dissolving some lip filler that they had a couple years ago, or maybe trying, instead of getting their Botox every 3 months, maybe every 6 months. You see people lately more interested in maybe some gua sha or LED light or face taping. It is also, as we see this rise of aesthetic medicine happening, we're also seeing, I think, parallel to it, this rise of people wanting to explore more non-invasive ways to achieve these results.
Yeah.
And it will be really interesting. And especially, when you're talking about people my age, well, first of all, it's not cheap. So
Right.
expensive.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people my age who, are trying to pay for, microneedling or skincare, or, I see that we are really, there's kind of these two things happening at once. And so it will be really interesting, I think, in the next 2-3 years, what happens. And this makes me think about because it makes me think about trends, really. We just saw in the last couple of years this massive trend for like the beef tallow skincare. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
And you stop and be like, what? But even it just makes you, it's so funny how something can come out of nowhere like that.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you think about that.
So I love beef tallow.
Yeah.
For my body on the inside.
Finally, that's how I feel as well.
Yeah. And I actually, so 10 years ago, when I was studying holistic nutrition, tallow was a big thing.
Yeah.
And so I tried it and I was like, oh, I cannot smell this. I can't smell like bone broth all day. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And plus I put it on my feet and my dog just went nuts. And I was like, just like I can't do patchouli, I can't do bone marrow smell. But the trend that arose last year, I did a post on it because, oh my gosh, my DMs blew up. Like, what do you think of tallow? Would you make a tallow this? And I'm like, everyone, simmer down a minute. This is a great product because, yes, it's natural. However, molecularly, it's pretty large. Not as large as coconut oil, which has caused so many issues in skin because it just physically can't be absorbed into the skin cells.
Right.
Tallow is not far behind it. And the smell has been an issue clearly because they're figuring out how to process it enough to get rid of the smell. But then you've processed a lot of the goodness out of it.
Right.
So, so that is not my skincare ingredient of choice. I prefer like the cold pressed seed oils like pomegranate, cranberry, sea buckthorn. I prefer that because they are closest to your natural skin sebum.
Yeah.
So the body receives it nicely and recognizes it as something familiar rather than like, what is this?
I feel like when it comes to organic skincare and medical grade skincare,
Mhm.
they're both in their own ways just never ending.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you Google like organic skincare,
Mhm.
you get so you're almost drowning in, right,
Totally.
companies.
Yeah.
And I feel like for somebody who, like you, who literally bottles each of your products, they're all small batch, they're all
Mhm.
handmade in your home.
Mhm.
What do you think are the biggest misconceptions about using natural organic ingredients compared to, like you said, the skincare aisles, the conventional skincare products?
Yeah. No, I love this question because I have, well, so again, 12 years ago when I was starting this, there was nothing
Yeah.
out there for, especially with oils. Um, and so, we had such a limited selection. So now it's exploded, and I'm blessed enough to be riding that wave.
Mhm.
Um, and here's the myth that I hear mostly is, oh, well, natural just doesn't really do enough. And so I get where that came from because a lot of these companies, they're using, again, like I said, highlight ingredients, a drop in an entire batch, where I use just to the limit the amount that won't be too strong. And
Mhm.
so I tell people, you're right. A lot of the natural skincare oils or products, they aren't doing much because they're not putting the expensive ingredients like bakuchiol, rose oil, buriti, like these are expensive ingredients. And their budgets are large enough for their mass marketing and for their packaging, where I have the margin to use to the full extent those key ingredients
Mhm.
to the point where they're actually going to make a difference. But my packaging, it's super simple here. It's, glass bottle only, dark so that the sunlight can't get through it. There's one thing. It's not coming in this beautiful like box that you want to unbox on the
Un Yeah.
internet and be the influencer. This is going to be wrapped in a compostable, padded, clean packaging, cushioned paper.
Yeah.
And then you can put that in your compost. You could even flush it down your toilet. And we're not just adding to the landfill or recycling, but the ingredients, if I were to make my formulas any stronger, it would not serve my clients or my skin well. It would be too strong. And so the testimonials speak volumes alone. But I think that, to be able to spend my money on the ingredients and to grow organically like I have and be able to allow my husband to retire early,
Mhm.
that to me is more important to have an effective um, organic product that where we know where each ingredient has come from. There's heart and there's, blessings that go into each product. and we're not spending it on the boxing and the packaging, but it's still clean, right? It's not gaudy or whatever. It's like,
Yeah. It's not overdone.
right.
And it's funny, there are some times that you wonder, is the beautiful, are they overcompensating for something when, it's packed, when the packaging and the bottle and the, you
Yeah.
know, so much effort is put into the aesthetic of the
Right.
product,
Right.
and then you're not as wowed by the product itself.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways, simple is better.
Hmm.
I feel like when you were building Glow, when did you decide it was time to not only be, have your e-commerce, uh,
Hmm.
but you were like, I want this in stores. I want to be in estheticians' back bars. When did you decide to make that pivot? Because were you selling in stores first or were you selling online first?
Online first. My
Mhm.
website was so DIY. I had no idea. And I was on Shopify from the get-go, which was good. Shopify has been amazing for me, particularly. It's been a beautiful platform. I am so not tech savvy. I've become pretty good with social media and text, I mean, the phone savvy, but my website started, probably a year and a half into making. Um, and then that that little DIY cute site lasted about 2 years. And then I hired a college girl to make it more professional. Um,
Yeah.
but I would say selling to my first place was Indulgence, so selling to stores.
Yeah.
Um, that took about 4 years, but that was just me. A lot of people will take all the time behind the scenes and get everything perfect before they launch. Where I didn't do that. Again, like sometimes, in the beginning, maybe to a fault, maybe not, I would lead from my heart and just excited and I would put it out there. Excuse me. But um, I would say that 3 or 4 years in, that's when I started to pursue stores. And then I had estheticians reach out and ask me. And
Mhm.
then through Instagram, a lot of different stockists and estheticians have approached me. So that's where that led me. So, I've read and talked to so many entrepreneurs that are like, God, you're so brave. Like you just put yourself out there. And I'm so nervous to get in front of a camera. I'm like, you're going to make an ass of yourself at first. Like you're going to sound awkward and weird and probably fumble. And that's okay. It used to take me like 15 takes to make a 5-second reel of me just saying, something.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Like again, stepping into your power. What is it that drives you? And if you are the brand, then you have to put yourself out there. And
Yeah.
so that was the hardest thing for me is becoming the brand. It's like a lot
Mhm.
of brands, this is just the brand, but there's so much behind Glow that needs to be shared. And for me, it was about my philosophy and how I can inspire and empower people to become their most natural, radiant selves.
Yeah.
Um, so I tend to put myself out there right away, and it's worked.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is just the authenticity and reading the room and not being obnoxious and um, yeah, but others would get all their ducks in a row, and I commend you for that. That's patient and super smart in its own right. So, everyone's so different. It's just
Yeah.
like, I'm
This makes me think a lot um about how when I just had decided to go out on my own and open my own studio, I was going back and forth about like, what should I call it?
mhm,
And, when you were just talking about like being the brand,
mhm,
it made me think that when I was like just settled on naming it after myself, a lot of people were asking me, why I had done that. And I started, thinking about, well, why did I do that? And I ultimately came to the fact that if somebody had asked somebody where they got their facial from, I didn't want them to just say a business name. I wanted them to say, like, I got it. I go to Lauren. Like,
For
I
sure.
want to, it to feel really personal. And then it's fun with your brand. A lot of people won't say Glow, which is funny. Clients, they go, oh, I just use Megan's.
Oh, good. That's
Megan's
funny
stuff.
because
And
I
I
get,
know
oh,
what
you're
they're
the
talking
glow
about.
lady.
Yeah, the Glow lady. Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of people will be like, if they're in for the first time and they use Glow and they know I have it in my back bar, they'll just say, "Oh, I use Megan's stuff." I'm like, "Okay, I know what you're talking about." But
That's so
you've really you are your brand, and it's so important for business owners listening and estheticians listening that you have to be.
yeah.
You can't be separate from your brand. It has to be all encompassing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and as you've built Glow, I'm
Mm.
assuming it hasn't been, perfect. What are some challenges that you've faced while establishing this brand? And, if there's a listener who's interested 2026 on establishing their own holistic organic beauty brand, what piece of advice would you have for them?
I think the biggest hurdle for me was getting over the name because so I came up with Glow because my sister, I'm like, what should I name it? She's like, well, you glow. I was like, that's corny. And so,
That's
so I'm like, okay, well, she's like, how about GLO without the W and put the line over? I was like, genius.
yeah,
And
that's
then I searched it for trademark sake and it was everywhere.
ugh,
Because what's her name? Famous actress, J Lo.
mm,
She had a candle, J Lo glows.
got it, got it, got
And
it.
it was GLOW. But so apparently her company was like on it with everybody, nailing them. So I consulted a friend who is an attorney. And this is where like I was able to cut corners
Mhm.
financially. I figured out how to trademark. I figured out how to start the LLC and the business license, like Google. I did it all there. Um, but GLO, if it was an acronym, no one could get me for it. And so at first, the acronym stood for Glow Luxury Oils, GLO. But then I was in a meditation and somehow the bubbles popped up. So imagine like a cartoon character,
Yeah.
GLO, give love often. And
Mm.
I was like, oh,
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
acronym.
Heart centered. It came to you.
Yes, it was so mind-blowing and beautiful, and, so that became the acronym, and that's basically, the philosophy behind everything. Give love often to yourself, to your skin, radiate love out into the world. So that was the biggest hurdle was getting through the naming,
Mm-hmm.
making sure the trademark was okay, and then aside from that, it's been a hurdle to get through the algorithms of social media marketing because social media marketing has been very successful for me. I've been, I feel like I rode a nice wave, and now it's like relinquishing the money that you need to relinquish for marketing is really hard for me. And now I'm finally paying somebody, and it's been, 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, I've done it all myself. Um, I paid a Facebook ads guy last year. We paid him, gosh, I want to say I spent $25,000. Yeah,
Wow.
on Facebook ads, thinking like, okay, we're going to go big.
Yep.
Nothing. The conversion rate dropped. Um, and there were very few, like the followers that I gained weren't even relevant followers. So that
Yeah.
was a hard lesson learned. And now I have a social media gal who is local. undoubtedly Caitlin. She knows me. She knows my voice. She knows my brand. She's passionate about the brand, and and I'm paying her handsomely, but we're finally seeing results because we're getting barely the followers, but new customers like
Yeah.
every week. So it's a slow process, and for me, it's hard to pay. And I think most entrepreneurs would agree, like the marketing budget it's unfathomable actually. Like to pay an influencer, you need like 50 to 100,000 or more.
Yeah.
And I don't
That,
even believe influencers myself. So I
that's
just don't feel aligned with that.
right. It's something that Lori Crete, the founder of this show, the founder of the Beauty Biz Club, has been talking about a lot in the
Mhm.
club and in her teachings, about how um, we're almost in this weird place where unless we're paying for an Instagram ad or Facebook ad or an ad of some sort, we don't feel like we're doing enough, and that it's actually the complete opposite of what we need to be doing right now. And it's really refreshing to hear other people talking about that too, because then you see, competitors stuff popping up because it's being promoted and they're
Right,
paying for it, and
right.
you just might not have the means to do so. But then you hear of things like what you just said, you spent thousands of dollars and you didn't see the return. And so
Yeah,
now you're pivoting back to my brand. It needs to be me. It needs to be, even if you're paying for somebody to do it, it's somebody who understands you, your
yeah,
heart, your mission. So just kind of pausing
yeah.
and being like, okay, putting on the horse blinders, not paying attention to what every marketing agency, every digital marketing person is telling you should be
Yeah,
doing, and
right.
focus on what feels good and what has actually worked in the past.
Yeah, and I think to dovetail on that, what it really boils down to is curating a an audience who trusts you. So instilling trust in your audience and being able to snag emails and phone numbers,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be bombarded by emails. And I'm like so hesitant to send people emails more than once or twice a month. But when I have branched and stretched myself and sent an email every 2 weeks or even like a week after the second week, I'm like, "Ugh, they're
Yeah.
going to, unsubscribe. This is going to be so
Right.
obnoxious."
Yeah.
But because I've created the depth of trust within my clientele and customers, it always is a successful campaign, if you will. So the emails always drive income.
Email marketing works. It's just a fact.
Yeah. And text marketing, it's
Yeah.
very lucrative.
Yeah. It just works.
Yeah. So
So,
that's the trust base, though.
yeah. And, that is, for somebody listening who, might own a small spa or is an esthetician or isn't, and they're wanting to maybe start a holistic beauty brand.
Mhm.
That's a great piece of advice, building trust first matters.
And I love your emails, going back to as an esthetician. And it's not just because I know you, because
Mm,
I will give people a shot if I feel that they're coming from their heart space and it's not just like me being bombarded with a sales pitch. I
yes.
love to read, because you share your personal story. And if you're a maker or a business owner, everyone wants to hear a piece of your story. It's
Hmm.
human interest. We can't help ourselves. And I think that's the other component to successful brand building is share yourself, or at least your brand philosophy, and share little snippets and stories of you or your brand in that
Yeah.
way. Because we all want to know the makers and we all want to know the owners. What does
Yeah.
the owner do?
Uh-huh.
What is she about?
Yeah, it's your why, always coming back to your why. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And also how you were saying in the beginning, and it's something that I really believe and implement in my business as well. Like, I will not be the person always trying to sell you something. I just won't.
Right.
There's a lot of times where a client is asking me, well, what more can I be using product wise? And there's some days that it just doesn't feel right to have them
Yeah.
take another product home when I
Right.
know I already have. And,
Yeah.
you know, and some business owners will tell you, like, what? You're crazy. Like, sell
Yeah.
them the $110 eye
Right.
cream. But I know they're not through the last one they bought. So,
Yeah.
and I think that people appreciate that. So with the emails, even if you're sending 3 emails a month, make
Right.
one of them just a more personal,
Yeah.
and it makes them feel like they know you.
Exactly. And I think on that marketing note, it's interesting. It's like a little bit of reverse psychology. Because like you, I'll have people DM me or email me through contact, like, hey, this is what's going on. What products do you recommend? Even if I have no idea who they are, what they use. I'll
Yeah.
just say, I would just start with these two. And then they're like, well, don't I need a cleanser? I'm like, if you're out of your cleanser and your
Mhm.
current cleanser is already working for you, then I would suggest this. But if you still have some cleanser left, reach back out when you're done.
Yeah.
Like, because also part of me is like, don't waste, if it's working for you, okay, don't waste it. Um, but I do think that there's a little bit of that reverse psychology, because if you don't give it to them, then they're going to be like, well, I'm going to find something, and they'll shop. Like for you at your studio, they might be like, well, I'm going to get this body oil, because they want to spend the money. Some people want to support you in that way.
Right.
Or some people just go in with the intention, the mindset of like, well, I'm going to get $100 worth of product too
Yeah.
after this facial. And so they're going to spend it regardless. We could suggest,
Hmm.
then we can also say, but I know what you have. Or if you're not complete with, what's working for you, then when you're ready, try this.
Yeah. That's like, and it's funny because you're almost taught to just sell, 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 but in a weird way, by doing that, you are still.
Yeah. You're not upselling.
Yeah,
'Cause that's what we're taught. If
you
you
are.
like this, then you'll like this. That's upselling. Where if you're coming from integrity, you can upsell if it's coming from integrity and they need it and you really think it'll help, or you can just scale back and they're going to do what they're going to do regardless.
I believe so too. I feel like retail is hard. Retail is a hard thing to do, as I'm like still really bad at it. Know,
You're
you know,
terrible.
like I am not great when it comes to retail, but it's so hard.
Well, it just
So
feels cheesy.
I
Then you're
know,
not cheesy.
I know.
So,
This is so okay. This is what I've got two more questions for you.
okay.
For an esthetician listening, because a lot of the listeners of the Beauty Biz Show are estheticians,
Mhm.
we are in this space where you can be a blend of both, more holistic or more like clinical esthetician, which is
Mhm.
something that I really appreciate. But there is a lot of estheticians who, feel pulled to be, that more holistic, organic healer.
Mhm.
Uh, for estheticians listening, for businesses listening, who want to offer their clients um, a more, holistic, organic experience, and they want glow, how can they find you? How can they reach out to you? What does that look like for them?
Okay. Um, I'm just going to backtrack for a second. I want to say that glow plays well with others.
Yeah, it
So
does.
I almost said glow is in another medical spa. And what I like is that they're offering to those who want to dabble in both. They can choose an organic product to go well with, like they can just add a drop of oil to their conventional cream.
Hmm.
Um, so I am all about blending the two. if need be. And then if you are wanting to carry a holistic line, Glow has the 7-step facial. Everything you need, as Lauren could share. And to find me or to work with Glow and to become a stockist or to become a Glow esthetician, then you can reach out on my website, glowluxuryoils.com. You can even DM me on Instagram. It's glow, GLO _ luxury _ oils. And those are the best 2 places to find me. And then we can move forward from there. What I offer for new stockists or estheticians is when you buy the minimum to get yourself set up, I offer a complimentary back bar. And the size isn't, don't picture from big companies the big 16-ounce back bar. For me, it's going to be 2 to 3 sizes larger than what you sell. So I work with you because I'm a small 1-person show. I can work with my estheticians and we have fun together. I'll educate. I do the Zoom or FaceTime where we can walk each other through questions and answers. If they're local, I can walk you through a 7-step facial, and we have fun together. Yeah, I have all the materials to also give you a step-by-step facial or booklets and info cards for each product. So you can educate yourself after we've educated together, or you can just send them home with the brochure and the product, and they can learn a lot.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and it does play well with others, coming from somebody who I like to, put a small dab of their regenerative oil on almost everybody this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
About my facial.
Yeah.
I feel like the last thing I feel like it'd be a really good way to close out the show would just be, Megan, for somebody who is feeling, we're all feeling overwhelmed when it comes to the beauty space, I think, and just in life and this, in our world right now. What is your biggest, message to women, female business owners, estheticians, anybody really going into 2026? What is the message that you'd like to share?
Go inward first and foremost. When you have that self-doubt or questioning, what should I do? Go inward, just take a deep breath, pause, and your highest self knows. You instinctively know what you need to do. So before hiring out all the gurus or therapists or intuits or whatever your go-to is, first just pause, literally take some time to get quiet. We don't take enough time to get quiet and go inward. You have the answers, and to trust yourself and to step into your inner knowing, even if it means looking in the mirror and smiling at yourself and saying, you are beautiful, I love you. That is one of the most empowering, immediate inner radiant plays you can make. So, but ultimately just trust yourself. You really do. Don't doubt yourself. This is how we step into our power.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Thank you so much, Megan. I'm so excited for everybody to just get to experience your energy. Oh, I appreciate you being here with us today.
Well, it's my honor. I feel so honored to be a part of your community. And thank you so much. This was really lovely.
Thanks. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Beauty Biz Show. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on today's episode, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the Beauty Biz Show. I hope the episode has left you feeling inspired to build the beauty biz of your dreams. As always, we appreciate your kind reviews as it helps us attract amazing guests to be interviewed. Also, be sure to give me a follow on Instagram at Lori_BeautyBiz and SpaStar_Lux. If you'd like to know more about how we can work together, visit beautybizclub.com, where we are busy helping estheticians create outrageously abundant careers.